Welcome back for the sixth and final episode of the Banpresto World Figure Coliseum. Today we're going to go to Malaysia to take a look at Salvador Gomez.
And I hear he takes some advice from his better half, his wife.
Ooh, let's see how that translates into a Trunks figure.
I'm sure it's good.
So my name is Salvador Gomez. I'm from Brazil. I'm an artist, and right now I'm work with games. It's a AAA games, and I used to do traditional sculpt as well. I never was without doing draw or without trying to sculpt something when I was kid, and I was growing up with this kind of wishes in mind. You know, like I want to do something. I want to create something. And then I was growing up in Brazil. Is a little bit hard to work with just artists, you know, like just being an artist is so challenging in Brazil. So we always have like a part-time work job, real job, and art stuff. You used to say that, but for some reason I decided to go to one side, just being an artist. Doesn't matter like if I'm gonna make money or not. I didn't think about it. I just think about my love, and I'm gonna try to do this as best as I can. And when I was 39 years old, I just decided like, oh, I'm gonna do that, you know? I don't wanna die without pursue my dreams. And then I decided to change my area. When I was 39 years old, was 2013. I decided just change. And I worked in my portfolio. I was just practicing a lot. And I knew that I didn't have too many time, like I didn't have time enough to get better. So I just decided to practicing every single day, or at least 4 or 5 hours a day, just practicing, trying to be better. I still learn, you know, you never stop. My approach or my inspiration when I start to do some project, it's always trying to capture something that the public can see and identify, you know, like I was trying to do something that represent, like if I'm doing a Dragon Ball Z character, I'm trying to capture everything from their character to show to the public that that is something from the actual, how can I say, trying to follow the word from Dragon Ball Z word and trying to put everything in one piece. We always, now it's time to watch some episode to get inspired and trying to bring everything in one piece. I used to see a lot of concept artists as well. It's funny because people used to say, oh, I'm gonna get inspired from the, I don't know, traditional sculpt or digital sculpt. But mainly I used to get inspired from concept art, because they bring all those ideas. It's nice to get inspired from those guys. And I was, I don't know, 15 years old or even less. Yeah, and I remember that I was playing video game, and there is a friend, they came out and said, hey, did you see some anime called Dragon Ball Z? Oh no, what is that? And then when I took a look, the first time I was, oh, this is really awesome. And so I think the Dragon Ball Z is like, I'm not talking about just myself, probably, I don't know, around the world, everybody has the same history. It's like since I was young, I used to watch, so it's like a part of my history. And being part of this challenge is really nice. It looks like I am Trunks. Like, you know, I was born, like I was struggling against a lot of stuff in Brazil, trying to be better an artist. I think I have the same feeling, the same sensation about this kind of stuff. Yeah. My first research, actually my wife helped me a lot also. We were trying to capture every single face, every single angle from this character to make sure that I have the nice representation from the actual anime. And also watch some, like seeing again some episode, but mainly his transformation, to see all about his transformation, trying to put in one piece. yeah, trying to make as precise as possible, trying to make as nice as possible. And then I like the moment that he just screaming and looks like and say no for something bad, and then he just came and tried to destroy your enemies. And because of that, I decided to make this character in this moment actually. So the pose that I choose is the actual pose when he just transformed in Super Saiyan, and I'm trying to match the pose from the anime. Sometimes you need to tweak a little bit, make some changes, just to. It's because about production stuff. But I was trying to cap this kind of this moment, and trying to give this to the fans. The only thing that was challenging and I decided to do also is his open mouth, because it's a little bit different when you thinking about anatomy. The human anatomy, when you open your mouth, you have something happen here. But for anime, it's completely different. So this was challenge, but was, how can I say? I was tend to do that just to get this kind of challenge, to have this open mouth and trying to make as nice as possible. I need to forget about the human stuff, because there is so unique stuff happening when he opened the mouth. His face completely changed, but changed in a way that's still being Trunks. Doesn't change for being another character. So I used to do a lot of face expression when I'm doing stuff, but specifically for this one, I was trying just to look into the anime and some pictures, some screenshot from the anime. I think that I used the mainly approach or workflow that every single artist used to do digitally. The only thing that I think that I can do different is like always trying to think, even doing digitally, I like to think that I'm doing something traditional, you know, like I have the same approach, because digitally, when you sculpt inside of ZBrush, for example, you have symmetry, all those stuff. I always trying to be no symmetry, you know. I always trying to do something like pretend that I'm doing the real world and bring inside of digital. I used to say that when I'm working, I am one of those characters that I'm working. I'm trying to think like him, and then that way is like looks like I'm looking at the mirror and trying to see the actual character. So if I'm doing Trunks, I'm trying to think like him, and then when I see the Trunks in my screen, looks like I'm looking at the mirror. Like, should I make that or make that? You know, like, because I'm Trunks right now. The final touch that I used to say that I'm done is when I'm comfortable, like to see the creation and say, oh, this looks like nice. And also my wife also gave me a lot of nice feedback. It's the true feedback. Because we are looking at our stuff, oh yeah, this is really nice. And then came your wife, looks terrible. And then, okay, it's time to do again. And like to be among of those great talents artists, for me is a really pleasure, and also is like a winning for me. So, but why I should say that I always don't think about winning stuff. I always trying to think like being part and trying to contribute, or I don't think about winning. I think they have the same feeling that I have, you know, like trying to be part of it and trying to be friends all together and trying to share and trying to make each one better as a exchange, you know, exchange knowledge is all like that we need, I think. I know those guys from Facebook, obviously. So I know Eric Sosa. He'll be in this competition. Okay. We are like friends in Facebook. We used to change change a lot of experience, and we used to talk quite a lot. Also, Rodrigo Praile. I know his work is really good. He's amazing. And yeah, those Japanese guys, I'm not using to. I don't have them in Facebook, but I know them. I know they have a really awesome work. How can I say? I can predict my future, but it's all depend on my hands and as a creator. and I see like I can take I can make my future actually like a superpower. I don't know, but yes, I think that I think my future that I can build up right now. As actually right now I'm build up my future. I'm mainly trying to help my friends from Brazil because I know that is a little bit tough. It's a little bit hard to get information, or because most of them they don't speak English, for example. And then we have a lot of information, but just in English. And I was trying to share my like something that I learned, or always trying to help the community. But I'm thinking about like Brazilian community because I know that that is a little bit tough to find like information. Or in Brazil, there is a lot of artists that somehow they don't have hope to start pursue the artist stuff. They always give up, you know, they're always trying to be far away from this art skill. Being a Brazilian guy and being part of this competition is a really great thing for my country because people is gonna be inspired as well anyway. I don't think about winning. It's kind of sad, but this is my way to think. It's always trying to do my best, and I'm not a win, actually. You lost, guys.
There you have it, Salvador bringing us Trunks turning into a Super Saiyan.
And I don't think I've seen many people do that actually in a whole figure. So I'm really excited to see the end result of that. And also, I really like that he kept true to the manga and anime form because he even said it. You know, he could do it realistic, but then he wanted to be true to the character. And I really, really enjoy that because I think that when people are looking at a Banpresto figure, they really see the character come alive, and that makes them really happy. And me happy too.
Yeah, he was talking about with Trunks how normally when you open up your mouth and you have this kind of face, you would get a lot of muscle and human anatomy on the side. Whereas in anime, he had to use a lot of the manga or anime as references because you don't really have as much of that. So a large difference, maybe slightly outside his comfort zone, but very interested to see how that turns out. One other thing that I thought was pretty interesting was, although he sculpts digitally, he turns off the symmetry, which I thought was one of the biggest advantages in sculpting digital.
So he does everything manually then? So
he uses digital, but he does his process almost like in a traditional form.
Right, so then even though he's using Maya or ZBrush, he's making sure that he does everything, you know, to the T of like a regular artist doing their thing.
Right,
you know?
So it might feel a lot more organic in that regard.
Right, and I really like that. You know, he's doing Trunks, and there's another Trunks in the competition, and he thinks it's a positive thing. He wants to meet more of the artists in this competition. So I really find it that a really sweet thing that he said.
Definitely. For our final contestant in the 2017 BWFC competition, we're going to go back to Japan and see what Hiroyuki Nakazawa is sculpting.
He is actually one of the most veteran sculptors in the competition of BWFC. I'm really excited to see his Super Saiyan Goku. So,
let's take a look.
僕らの頃はビデオゲームはなかったから、まあ子供のホビーって言ったらなんだろう、竹ひごで飛行機作ったりとか、まあプラモデルみたいなのがあって、僕は割とプラモをよく作ってましたけど、まあそれと釣り行ったりとか、 まあそこそこ自然に恵まれてたところだったから、その生まれ育ったところが、まあ、野山を駆け巡ってみたいな、まあ平均的な感じのクソガキだったと思うけど中学卒業するぐらいからものすごくガンプラが流行って、子供がもう接着剤ベタベタに作るっていう作り方じゃなくて、綺麗に合わせ目を消してエアブラシで塗装するみたいなのをやり始めたのはやっぱり高校生ぐらいから、まあ釣りするかプラモ作るかどっちかみたいな、高校を卒業するかしないかぐらいで自分でゼロから作るっていうのを、まあホビージャパンとかそういう模型雑誌とかなんだろうアニメの情報誌で知るようになって、まあ、最初はまあプラモ作ってたわけだけど、やっぱプラモなんかちょっと違うみたいな、アニメの劇中で出てくる絵とかそういう本に載ってる設定資料と形が違うぞと。だからメーカーが作るものが全てだと思ったんだけど、メーカーこれちょっといまいちなんじゃないかなって思うようになったのがやっぱ高校生ぐらいで、寿屋さんっていうプラモ屋さんが、まあ、うちのちょうど近所にあって、そこで模型のコンテストとかを結構頻繁にするようになってるのに、まあ、応募するみたいなのが割とこう自分でフィギュア作ったりとかロボットを一から作るみたいなのが、まあ多分高校生卒業するぐらい、でしたよね。そこら辺からまあそのなんだろうゼロからなんかものを作るみたいなのに結構どっぷりハマり始めて。まあもともと自分はそういう柔らかい感じのなんか日常を切り取ったみたいな、そのアロハ着てるやつとか水筒飲んでるやつとか、あとは松村さんのそういう亀仙人みたいなとか、そういう方が実は好きで、特にスーパーサイヤ人が大好きってわけじゃなくて、言っちゃえばスーパーサイヤ人そんなに鳥山先生っぽくない、普通にかっこいいキャラクターなんで。
でもまあずっと体
にやっぱり今までは結構まったりしたのが好きだったから、キリキリ好きしたものを作る時はなんとなくこう消極的な感じだったね、作り方が。でもそういうやっぱり気持ちを切り替えれば多少そういう、のが反映されるなっていうのは、が手応えがあって、それは面白かった。だからそこから今のに続くみたいな。だから今回のもこれがものすごい大好き、本来中澤宏之が大好きなわけじゃないんだけど、でも造形物として面白いものを作る時に自分のその内面そんな出なくても、その能力とかこう構築したものを吐き出すためにやっぱ自分なんかない方が面白いできるなみたいなのはあって、まあ、今回のも割とそういうなるべく鳥山先生のやっぱり絵の通りに作りたいっていうのは、忠実っていうのもちょっと違うんだけど、なるべく鳥山先生の絵のニュアンス通りに作りたいなみたいな。だからこのポーズにしようって決めるまでには結構何ヶ月も考えてますよ。それは大会の話があって、じゃあどんなのがいいかなってもうずっと夜寝る前になんかね考えてみたいなのは結構、時間あるだけ考えますけどね。だから天下一っていうか、まあコロシアムでネタを決める時はなるべくないのをやっぱ作った方がいいかなっていうのは若干あって、前回なんかはほらもう瀕死のピッコロみたいな、あんなの多分そんなに売れるもんじゃないだろうから、仕事では多分来ないだろうなみたいなのがあって、あえてああいうのをネタにしてみたりとか。だって最初のアルファ悟空なんてなんでアルファなんだよみたいな、こんなの今やっとかないと多分できねえだろうなと思って、要は商品化になりづらいもので、これに関してはすごく商品化になりやすいものなんだけど、それはまあなるべく向こうの USA っていうか、まあね世界の人に、認めてっていうかいいなって思ってもらって、みんなスーパーサイヤ人好きでしょみたいなカメハメハのポーズしてるフィギュアって結構 あるけど、カメハメハの波動というかそういう動きを表現するのにまあエフェクトつけちゃえば手っ取り早いんだけど、でもエフェクトなしに打ってる感じを表現するために、その劇中の中で結構 ビービーとしたこのバトルダメージが後ろになびいてるんですよ。だからそのカメハメハの打った反動をこの布の破れたダメージ部分で分かりやすく表現するっていうか、それがまあ割と今回作品の肝っていうか。そうね、なるべくその、二次元の持つ整合性がなくてもその二次元の何とも言えないこうインパクトっていうか面白さがあるじゃない。ジャパニメーションが受けてるっていうのも多分そういうことなんだろうと思うんだけど、要は写実的じゃない部分でもそれをこうぶわっとこう立体にした時にあんまりにも写実的すぎるともともと本来持つ二次元の面白さみたいなのが多分失われちゃうだろうなみたいな。そういうなんだろう、二次元の絵が持つ何とも言えない面白さをなるべく 3D にした時も残せるようにっていうのは造形する時の基本的な概念は常にそれを頭に置いて作ってはいますけどね。だからこれに血管を入れるかどうかで死ぬほど悩んだ。なんでかっていうと血管を入れるとものすごく生々しくなるの。肉々しい感じになってシャープさとか勢いがそがれちゃったんですよ。だからすごく血管何度も何度も入れ直してその漫画っぽいこのラインがなるべく損なわれないような位置とか血管のパターンを作るっていうのにちょっと手間かけましたけど、要するに説得力さえあればそんなにシワとかこんなシワ入るわけないもんね実際に人間の服で。でもそういうのをシワとして見せてなおかつこの漫画っていうか二次元の絵の持つシャープさとか勢いとかが残れば多分面白いかなみたいなことは常に心がけてるっていうか。粘土ってこういじってるうちに偶然な形っていうのは必ず生まれるでしょ。それは多分デジタルだと難しいと思うんだけど、その偶然できたなんかいいなんだろうへこみとかシワとかをなるべく拾うみたいなことは、結構気をつけてるかな。あ、今いいシワが偶然残ったみたいなね。スカルピーとかこういう粘土特有の、長所だと思うんですけど、コミコンっていう場で発表されればよりそのこっちの原型師みたいなスタイルとかいろんな手法みたいなのが多分紹介されるだろうからね、より興味持ってくれる人が増えりゃいいなとは思ってますけどね。今まではそのユーザーの投票だったわけだからそのなんだろう今回の投票はより玄人というかプロフェッショナルが見る、評価だからちょっとその結果は気になるよね。それは自分が優勝っていうんじゃなくてどういう業界の人がそのいろいろな造形に対してどう評価を出すのかなっていうのがそれはだってコメントとかどうせちゃんとあるわけでしょ。その評価がすごく楽しみというか興味深いというか声が聞ければ一番楽しいんでね。なんで私はこれが好きとか僕はあれが好きみたいなのをなるべく聞いてみたいね。そうするとよりねみんなが望むようなものを作れるわけじゃない。みんなでニューヨーク楽しもうねこのぐらいかな。お会いできるのを楽しみにしてますみたいな感じですけどね。亀仙人みたいにこう悠々自適に愛人囲って南の島でのんびり暮らしたいみたいな。いいよね。
Wow, now that Goku was throwing a Kamehameha if ever I saw one.
Well, that's a good point because the thing is, I know that he was trying to be as accurate and removed himself from the whole figure. I didn't hear anyone say that in this whole competition.
I think a lot of times we hear sculptors talk about how they put their own interpretation or their own spin or own signature on a figure.
Or themselves.
Or themselves in the figure, exactly. Whereas he was talking about interpreting, or rather delivering what Akira Toriyama would have wanted in the form of a figure.
Right, and the BWFC is all about that, you know, what you want your figure to be like. And I find it very interesting that he brought up that point. And also, he talked about adding veins again. And
yes,
Salvador brought that
veins.
up.
Yeah, Salvador talked about the muscles in like, the jaw when Trunks is powering up. And I think that there is an interesting balance between realism and abstraction. So do you add that vein and make it look very kind of raw
and meaty, he says?
Exactly.
Or do you want to make it more like the manga and a little bit smoothed out and more sharp? So I really like that he touched upon that subject. It made me think a lot.
Absolutely. And I think it was really cool when he talked about the so-called happy accidents when sculpting with clay, because we're seeing the transition to a lot more sculptors going digital.
Right.
And sculpting in ZBrush or Maya.
And making things so perfect and exact. And the thing is, sometimes it's good to make mistakes. And it's okay.
I think so too. And when he was making the cloth, for example, when you kind of peel the clay and it has this happy little
like
wave
or curve, and then you're like, oh, that looks pretty good.
And it works.
And so I think that it's okay. And he's a seasoned sculptor. So to hear him say that is very, I guess really invigorating to hear. So yeah, like I'm really sad though. This is like
the final episode.
Yeah, I know. But I really can't wait to see the results.
Absolutely.
You've seen all 12 competitors for the BWFC. Man, that's pretty stiff competition.
Only time's gonna tell who's gonna take the crown for the first World Coliseum. So for all the latest updates, be sure to check out our website at banprestowfc.com, and we'll see you in the Coliseum.